Good evening, everybody. Good morning. It depends where you are. I'm very happy today to start this Cornerstone Life Science and Healthcare webinar. You probably all remember that this is our it's our third webinar this year. We have created a new approach, a new dynamic for this very important partnership and practice of the company. The objective is to share, like each time, a very important topic in life science, but also to present you top leaders in our industry. And it's why today I have the pleasure to present you three people at once, covering all the bricks, which I think is really an interesting challenge, and show also the capabilities of Cornerstone. The way we are going to organize ourselves tonight or today, depending where you are, will be to maybe have a few minutes of presentation by our speakers and guests. And after, questions are open to all participants. And we have a lot of people in India, in Brazil, in China also, so it's a little bit late here. So I expect to have a few questions. So please use the chat function. I will select and read the question and share them with our speakers. Otherwise, we will find a lot of topics to discuss among ourselves. But the exercise is interesting with your direct input. So without further ado, I would like to present you, or I would like our speakers to present themselves. So who's going to start, gentlemen? Gaetano?
Yeah.
Who are you? Can you tell us who you are in a few minutes, please?
Sure. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for the invitation. It's really an honor to be part of this panel. My name is Gaetano Crupi. I am currently the president and general manager for Bristol Myers Squibb in Brazil. I had made my career in the pharmaceutical business, which is a business that I love it. Most of the time in international assignments, working in the United States, Canada, Venezuela, and also spent time in different companies. I started my career with Eli Lilly, so Luca here is someone that I relate to. Spent time with Abbott Laboratories. I was the founder of AbbVie in Brazil, and I joined BMS in 2012. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Today you are the GM for Brazil, huh?
Yes.
Thank you. Luca.
Good evening, good morning, everybody. My name is Luca Visini. I'm currently the managing director for the Indian subcontinent, so I take care about India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka for Eli Lilly. I had a life before pharma and before Lilly in finance, and then after my MBA in South America, in Argentina specifically, and in Europe. I did my MBA. I joined Lilly 16 years ago. Time flies, and I've been working as well, mainly in international assignments. After 3 years in Italy, the United States 2 times, Eastern Europe, global roles, and now I've been in India since January 2018. And it's a great pleasure to be here with you, with the panelists, and with the people that connect.
Thank you, Luca. Stephane?
Good evening to all of you. Evening because it's late evening in China, 11 p.m. So I will try to stay awake. I'm currently a general manager for Servier China for the last 4 years. I'm French, but I was graduated in France. But I started my career in Spain. Then I moved to Mexico, a general manager in Mexico. After I'm general manager in Egypt, then again in Spain, and as we were mentioning, the last 4 years in China, and 21 years in the same company. I'm a very loyal guy. So 21 years, a long time, but time flies. And today I'm really very happy to be with you for this very interesting meeting.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. So let us now start without further ado, and I remind to all our participants that we are expecting some questions over the chat function. So we talked a lot about life sciences. The engine of the industry of this life science and healthcare industry is pharma, of course. And among them, we have today 3 leading companies of this industry. So we are really at the core of our industry here. Before we enter in people and leadership matters, that will be the core of our today discussion, I would like to a little bit that we set the scene. And of course, everybody is talking about the pandemic and COVID-19. So could you, from your country, from your market perspective, Brazil, China, and India, which are part of the BRICS, could you share a little bit with us what are the lessons you have as an organization learned from this very difficult situation? Gentlemen, what means COVID for your organization? Who starts?
Okay, I can do it. I think the first thing that we really realized during this whole situation in Brazil, and I like one definition about this crisis, which is the following: we are all living in the same planet. Okay, we are here in planet Earth. We are all under the same storm, but we are not in the same boat. I think the first realization is that we had to look at people who are facing this in a different way. And if there is something that we need to be very careful, this is not one size fits all. I think with our employees, people are in different time in life, they have different situations. And we did learn about it because to be honest with you, our number one problem was not infection transmission, is mental health. And how could we really make sure that we would understand where people are, and because they are really in a different boat. The second point that I would say is Brazil is a country of contrast, a country of a social disparity that is amazing. I mean, we look at 2/3 of the country, it's a very poor country. They depend on the public's system for everything. And you have 1/3 of the country that can really be on the private market. In a crisis like this, those differences become deeper and deeper. And I think the government has really put a lot of money to help people, because people are going from starving. I mean, they need money to wait, and with the unemployment and everything else. So I think this for us was the great lesson, the great learn. And I think we need to now be prepared how we're going to rebuild this, because the aftermath effect is going to be very, very challenging for all of us.
So, sorry, Gaetano. Yes, thank you very much. India, what is the situation in India?
I would say that, first of all, many characteristics that Gaetano just described, you can find here. Social disparity, not everybody is in the same condition, a concept like social distancing really depends on where you are, even in being able to carry them forward. I have to say that when I look at 6-9 months into the pandemic, first of all, there are things, the world around you can change really, really quickly. And I would say preparation matters. I mean, being prepared to things or to events that are not likely to happen, but might happen, gives you at least the possibility to react in a consistent way. Many multinationals are prepared for the crisis or environmental events. This is one of them. And being prepared, I'm talking about Lilly, but many other companies were in the same situation, gave us the opportunity to, first of all, avoiding big stock out in the country with the medicine. So being able to still deliver medicine, even with lockdown operating. And second, being quickly able to put people at work. Meaning, even if not face-to-face, fully digitally, we've been able to have people carrying on their activities from work. That would be the first one. The second, we all know it, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves, change barriers are really in our mind. Because if I think pharma industry and all the people in the panel can relate to that, as trying to work on new channel, new digital channel for 10 years now. Now, 6 months of this pandemic moved from 10 to 20% to 100% of our interaction digital. And we saw that it was possible, and with the early learnings, it actually accelerated. If I had told any of us last year in October, for next year, all interaction are digital, we would have said, not gonna happen, not possible.
Yeah, sure.
Not gonna, in reality, the acceptance of the environment also changed, but it has been possible. And finally, last point is a big recognition to the social workers, to the doctors, that in a situation where we are at home, we try to interact the least possible, are still out there helping people and patients, putting their lives on the line to help the people who need them. So a big chapeau to their, as a civil society, a recognition to what they are doing.
Thank you, Luca. We say we don't speak French tonight or today. We just speak English, please.
Kudos, like the American would say. A lot of respect for those doctors and social workers.
Right. Now, we talked about Brazil and India was a lot and paying a lot of tribute today to COVID. But Stephane, for you in China, or for us, because I'm also living in Beijing, in China. So I think the situation is a little bit different now, because the COVID has been probably from the authorities better managed. But in terms of business, in terms of, I've heard about digital, I mean, where do you stand on this? I mean, what means
first, first point is COVID started in China. And when it started, it was before every other country. And we have no idea about the following steps. So when we faced the situation, maybe compared to other countries, we had no idea of the size, the importance of the situation. And it was quite different compared to other countries. Another very important dimension in China is the reaction of the Chinese, because their experience of the stress. They took it very serious, and there was like a spontaneous lockdown who allowed to control quite quickly the pandemic to one province of China, and the reaction of authority to close immediately borders allowed finally to almost terminate with a crisis in April, because the difference with other countries, all our teams came back to work in April and almost come back to a full normal activity, visiting hospitals in May. So it's a totally different, and for us in China today, it's not anymore a problem of lockdown. We are working almost normally, traveling normally. So it's something very, very different when we compare what's happening in China compared to other countries. Now, coming back to your point, Eric, and what was the consequences of COVID. Agree with Luca. COVID was an opportunity to boost digital transformation. In normal situation, we will have taken 5 years, and in 6 months, we were able to move from a full offline to a full online, and it was something incredible. And now we can see that it helped to dramatically transform all our business model. A second point, when we speak about this digital transformation, what's interesting is now, as we almost come back to a normal situation, we can say that now we have not moved back to a traditional offline model, but we have a new model, which is like a mix online, offline. And no doubt that today we are much stronger than before, because we are not moving from one model to the other, but we are improving and developing a hybrid model with the engagement of everybody, because before people consider that it will never happen, others were very let's say, innovative, but today everybody believes in digital and this transformation. So this crisis were a strong opportunity. And the second dimension I want to highlight in the crisis as an opportunity to strengthen the sense of belonging of people in the company. Because as you mentioned, Gaetano, first point was to support people, to support our colleagues, to support their family, as well to support doctors fighting against the pandemic, take quick decisions in order to help doctors and healthcare professionals, kind of social responsibility. And our teams were proud and now are proud because we quickly react and supported people fighting the pandemic. So there is a feeling of people after the pandemic where when they come back to hospital after our reaction, after our support, it's really contribute to improve our, let's say, loyalty to the company and the sound of pride of our colleagues. And this is something as well very important. When we are in the middle of the crisis, it's not easy, but one step back, we can really find this kind of things with positive outcomes of this COVID.
But to build on this point, Stephane, because the sense of belonging to the company is one thing, but isn't it even wider? Because pharma as an industry sometimes has not a very nice image. I mean, at the global level, so people need our products. We love our innovation, we love our companies, but sometimes to me, it's business and life of the people and so on. It's something that is quite difficult. So we sometimes have a reputation issue. So with this crisis, in fact, the industry is getting better, no, in terms of reputation. I don't know, gentlemen, what do you think of
that? I can, make a comment. I would like to make two comments. I'll leave the reputation as the second one. We were talking about nobody's ready for a situation like this, right? I mean, nobody can think about it. I mean, the VUCA concept with the pandemic became something really easy to go through. Yes. But I think there's a great learning for me and a great confirmation of the importance of your culture, your corporate culture. Because when you look at mission and vision and your values, they are concepts that when you are together or you're managing, you see things happening. But if you do really have a strong culture, is in a time like this, that you see that it was a crisis, but in the culture, in our particular case, we have a culture of innovation, like Luca was saying. People start thinking about how can I, participate in a congress or organize a medical event. So I think the culture became really confirming that is the most important strategic advantage you can have. Two comments on specifically for BMS. On March 11th, we announced the new organization after the acquisition of Celgene. So it was a brand new organization. On March 13th, we were working from home. So our new organization never got together to really see who's my boss, and you can imagine two companies. And the other thing has been the ability to hire people in this period, even at director level, which they have not seen the company, but they join a culture, they join a company with a culture. So I just want to stress that. In terms of your specific question, I think we have had now, and I don't know if my colleagues have seen some of the research, but the reputation of the pharma industry has improved in rates that we have not seen in decades. And I think this is a huge opportunity to take advantage in terms of now they can see who we are, but also in terms of attracting top talent, in terms of opening the doors for us to be working together with the government, with payers. We have always been working with providers, but definitely when the things get really tough in terms of solving a health problem, they don't turn to a university, they don't turn to a government. We know that the pharma industry is the leader on this. Then we work together with universities, we work together with government. But I think that has been an output that I think we can build upon after that.
Thank you, Gaetano. I got one question from our participant, and it's namely for Stephane. I guess it's coming from India. A gentleman is asking, I hope it's a gentleman or a lady, I don't know. Is there anything China has implemented at the local community level involving neighborhood citizens to fight COVID-19 that maybe other countries could learn from? Stephane.
It's the way COVID impacted China is quite different with other countries because pandemic was really localized in Wuhan, in Hubei province. So that's why the rest of the country tried to protect themselves. And there is a very high sense of self-responsibility of the population of China. So there was no official lockdown. People themselves decided to organize, and their sense of responsibility, self-responsibility, contribute to control the pandemic. So this is, I don't know if I answer your question, but the context is so different that the approach and reaction of people was specific to China.
Sure. The people were very strong, but I think the question was also referring to the community organization with a very self-organized country. In fact, all the quarters where people are living and so are very well organized with. In French, we call that comité de quartier, settlement committee or neighborhood committee. And in fact, these organizations have taken the power on the street, and there was no full country lockdown, but this community have managed it on a very granular way. And I cannot compare with India or Brazil, but with France I can compare. In France, there is no more this kind of organization. I mean, it's the whole country. So in fact, nobody is managing this cell by cell. And maybe one of the ways that China has been able to survive or to weather this crisis was due to this very specific organization.
And maybe one additional point, Eric, is concerning the borders. In China, they immediately closed the borders, and this stopped the expansion of the disease, and they closed the borders. And China is a country with provinces. Each province closed the border as well. So everything was closed, and this limits the expansion of the pandemic. So at the level of borders, and today, just for your information, China announced a few hours ago that due to the situation of the pandemic worldwide, the borders are again totally closed. So that means that foreigners cannot enter in China today.
I can share. I can share one example on that question, which was very important, is how we organize ourselves, either, for example, through the American Chamber and other organizations, finding the pockets where people needed most help. What was also amazing, it was how our foundations, mainly American-based companies, the foundations really start releasing funds. In our particular case, we found a very important need for the border of Brazil with Venezuela because of the issue with Venezuela. So we made a donation of product support and really working with that. So I think the organization of either by nationality or by sector or by state or by your city, that was a very good help to really go to pockets of need and make sure that you can give some help. Again, because of the contrast, we had to come up with the resources and make donations very specific.
Sure, very interesting. I think we have to move forward because we wanted to talk about people, talent management, and of course also about leadership. Can you share with our audience the way that you keep people motivated in such difficult time? I mean, we have a very scary situation in a way with this pandemic, and it's wave one, wave two. I mean, vaccine maybe next year, maybe the year after. So we are here for a long time. So what can you share with us in a short answers? Huh? Don't. It's not the time to do a long speech. Stephane has to go to sleep, myself too. So please keep it short. But can you share with us how do you keep people motivated in such a difficult time?
I can go. I believe both Gaetano and Stephane touched a bit the subject when they were talking about culture and the culture of the company. So, and what is the impact that culture has on people. And overall, what we're doing in India as Lilly, we saw that first of all is how generally you interact with your organization and with your employees. So in general, we are known to have a very strong culture that sometimes is a great opportunity, sometimes a bit of a slowing down things, because when you have to change something, it will take time. But overall, there is a continuous attention through the survey, to our engagement programs, internal and external, with a great place to work in what is the pulse of our organization, the engagement of organization. In this case, the moment we find ourselves all working from home, clearly we had to proactively start thinking, what are the implications of working from home? Gaetano mentioned that. It's not secondary. One of the big points of this pandemic is not only the fear or the problem with the virus, is also the psychological impact. So how do we ensure that our organization, our people, feel still part of the organization and is just an interaction that has changed? So very bottom line was the over-communicating, was the keeping the people in touch, bringing guests internally and externally to show how all our lives were impacted. All we were working from home with families because we were all closing the house with kids. So it was a making it clear the vulnerabilities of the people that has to work in this condition. On the other side, working on those winnings and our ability with the purpose we have as an organization to still deliver what was needed by the society at large. So it was a balance between the over-communicating, the sharing, and eventually the pride in being able to still function and have a very, very real social role in bringing medicine to people.
Thank you. Stephane?
Yeah, I think one point which is very important because there is as well a big sense of responsibility of the team. And this is like there as well self-motivation, because we had to reopen our plants, and after 5 days, we could reopen the plants because we had patients waiting for our drugs. We are drugs for chronic disease, and we cannot let patients without drugs. So it was like a very important, and this self-motivation to see that the responsibility of each employees is important. Our trade as well in the field, in order to supply the drug with distributors, with supply was very important. And this is one dimension which was remarkable during all the pandemic, to ensure patient first and the sense of responsibility of people. A second element which was very important in such a moment is communication. It's communication, because we need to inform people, to listen to people, and to have over communication. And this was essential. We cannot let people alone in this situation. We need to guide them, and they are expecting that. And one of the survey we did during this pandemic was the engagement, in order to see if people were engaged during this period and why they were engaged. And this open communication was a very important element to keep people engaged and push people to go further and to be creative, innovative. And we developed this sense of sharing good experience, sharing innovative ideas, sharing ideas in terms of social responsibility. The sharing, the communication was very important to keep people engaged during this period, because it's very easy to lose people. They are at home, and after they can lose the contact with the real life very easily. So communication and keep engagement.
Thank you. Gaetano.
And Stephane, you mentioned before, when you were saying we came out with even a stronger sense of ourselves after the crisis. You mentioned that at the beginning. And I have to say that we have felt the same. So on our surveys and our attention, after the first part of the year, actually those KPIs increased. So that sense of belonging even grew up, because that communication and that sharing was building together and being together. So I would say we found the same thing here as well.
Yeah, I am not going to repeat everything what Stephane and Luca said, because it seems that you guys put three companies with a very strong culture of people, and so absolutely same points. But let me share with you specific programs. So just an example of what we did. First of all, I think the term work-life balance will disappear after this, because there was not work-life. I mean, we were talking and children were coming, the family was participating. So the separation of work and life just went away, okay? The one thing that was very interesting, we established a open, voluntary 1.5 phone call with me as the president, leading with all employees, okay? And so you open up the call. I had no business agenda. I could do, first thing we used to do was we would sing happy birthday for the people having birthday that week. And it was very open for people to share what was going on in their lives. And that was, we have done this every single Monday, number 33 since March. And I tell you, this has been outstanding. This is one very important program. The other thing we did is we extended, for example, very simple thing, because people are at home and they need to prepare their lunch. 1 hour for break in lunch was not enough. So we established a no meeting zone. So there was 1.5 hours, nobody could call a meeting. We also noticed that people were thinking that they were going to get more money if they had more activity, and we had to slow down, conferences, because people are just calling conference. I think that was important. And finally, just one great example. Last Friday, I had the same open dialogue meeting with the children of our employees. So 33 children asking me questions and telling how their parents were behaving. That sense of having the same thing, and we don't have time for examples, but I think that was the best thing that happened for me. It was just to listen how people are connected, and I think Luca and Stephane did this. We are getting out of this stronger than what we got coming, not only because of the technology, but culturally. This has been a great example. So I hope that helps, but those were very good things that we did.
And always people first. I like very much this last comment. A question from France, and I will mix it a little bit with what we hear also here on the ground in China. Through this crisis, do our employees have more responsibility, less control, and more trust in the organization? It looks like to me that they have this lady has very well summarized the situation. But one very interesting finding for China, which is a little bit one step ahead of India and Brazil, is that today the remote office concept is a little bit too much, and we have a lot of companies in the management. Now the issue is to bring people back to office. So what has been developed during this period, I'm not sure. Is it going backward, or is it a little bit a different situation versus this Do employees have more responsibility, less control, and more trust? What do you think?
Let me, first of all, the notion that we can do working from home for the rest of our lives is a huge mistake. As a society, we cannot live alone. Okay, forget it. So I think this is very important. And I think, for example, we already have published that we are looking at in our policy that we are increasing the period you can work from home, but this is something that you need to really work with your supervisor. So for us, the experience is providing the employee with the flexibility of when is the right time for you to go back and what are the conditions that you are working. I think that has been key. But we left very clear, we are not going to be a company that will be looking into working from home forever. I think that notion...
Sure, but Gaetano, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I give you a very practical example. We see now in China, headquarters says, guys, organize yourself and take 2 days per week and give that to people to work from home.
Yeah.
And here we hear the leadership and the manager on the ground say, no, bring everybody back to home, everybody back to work in the office, 100%.
That is a huge mistake. I think if you are not sensitive to the needs, for example, in Brazil, the schools are not back. And so the children are still at home. How can I say to someone with whom I'm going to leave my children? Also, you have people that are caregivers of people that are very elderly, people that they cannot be exposed. So if you go to work and you get sick, you get home, you have a problem. So I think forcing people to come back to work without a plan, without flexibility, you will destroy all what you have built in terms of loyalty, culture, and everything else, because then people are going to say, you really don't care. So I think I would say, don't do that. I mean, keep flexibility and make sure that you do that with different phases. So that has been our learning.
All right.
Just
what I like. Go ahead, Stephane.
Yeah. What is important is the transition between the lockdown and the back to normal life. And this transition, because every person is different. And every person, for different reasons, for personal reasons, for family reasons, they are in different situations. So there is not one rule for everybody. Because for some of them, it will be too fast. For others, they want to come back to work. So the role of the manager is very important. And maybe by empowering the managers to work with their team to adapt to people was very important, because this transition phase, because it's easy to say to people, stop going to work. Everybody understand, it's clear. When things start to come back to normal, is not like black or white. It's a gray zone during a month, and the flexibility and the role of the manager is very important, because agree with you, Gaetano, we can break things if we are going too fast, forcing people, because it's something they have inside. That means that I don't want to be back home and contaminate my parents. And this is something we cannot control. So this transition period has to be taken with a lot of care and case by case, I will say, and the role of the manager is very important in this situation.
Sure, but Stephane, if I'm a little bit provocative, I understand flexibility is everything in our companies today, and it's part of your culture and so on. But how do you manage that, and how is it managed by your middle management? In China, again, back to this, some companies or some middle management, they say, no, you just come back.
Yeah, no, the problem, today people are back. Definitely they are back. And the point is, during a transition, I'm insisting, because it was very, very tough period, because for me, it was important to come back to work, because we had lots of events, lots of things to do. But for people, it was not the case. So it was a respect during the transition phase. Now, everybody is back to work, everybody back to office. So we have, my only message is for the transition phase, take care, not to go too fast, neither too slow, and engage people step by step to be sure that we are not breaking the trust. Now, people are back, 100% are back to office. And maybe one thing changed, even in China, because in my mind, it was impossible to have home office in China. Because if you are telling people not to go to work, maybe they will take another job, and it can create like a kind of tricky situation. And it was a culture in China. Today, after the experience of people working from home, people are more mature than before, and they know how to work at home. And now we can consider from some situations, some people, work is possible even in China. And it was not my thinking before the crisis.
Yeah. Eric, we need to remember, we are an industry that is data-driven, okay? So, for example, we have a centralized environment and health organization in the company, and they will not allow you to go back to the office if your local numbers are not allowing you to do that. So the option is, there's no this possibility of a manager just saying you have to, because it's really well controlled. And again, if it's not safe, we are not doing it, okay? So.
Sure. No, this I understand. Yeah. But the fact that people are a little bit less motivated to come back, and manager really wants people nearby them, it's I think also a very interesting thing. But we will discuss in a few months when we are all on the same level in terms of.
But one thing has been achieved, because I believe that the world generally, the business world, got to get to terms that the stigma of working from home has gone.
Exactly.
Because before, if you had to say, I'm working from home a week, very likely within your organization, 90% of the people would have looked at the person saying, I'm going to work from home a week, not really trusting the good intent. Now, after this experience, I would say that, first of all, people, after 9 months being in the house, they would like to go back to work in the office, first of all. But as Gaetano was saying, we have to pay attention to safety. Second, is clearly a big proof of concept that organization can work digitally connected. That people that are at home, if anything, are probably working even more than before. Gaetano was making the example. One of the big objectives was try to rebuild that life-work balance, because everything was in one thing and people were doing extensive hours working. So one of the changes, meaning before and after, is clearly the stigma of working from home is not there anymore. Now it will be more like, how do we practically go to the new normal?
Thank you very much, Luca. I think we have to also move on our various topics. I mean, one of them was about the development of our organization. I mean, we are depending on the countries back to business, and we need to redevelop our teams. We need to increase and to add to our management teams. And here, of course, I would like to hear you a little bit about what are your, in a very short answer, what your most important traits and characteristics for your recruitment. And again, with this COVID in mind, I mean, did it change the way you recruit people, or the kind of people you are looking for? I mean, do you see any changes in your approach of these recruitments?
To be honest with you, no. I think I'm not going to share any of my secrets here with my competitors. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. When we look at in our industry, if you tell me, with exception of the technical knowledge, what are the two things that I look into a talent to join the company? There are two things that are non-negotiable. Are you an agent of change? Are you a team player? So, because there's no way you can work in isolation. I am not going to hire a PhD in one given disease that is the expert of one product that I have if that person is not a team player. Forget it. It's not going to work. Now, if I hire someone that is not an agent of change, that is because our industry is changing every day. So today, to be honest with you, as I was saying, We hired a lot of people during the pandemic, people that have not seen the office. We hired them in marketing, in medical, in procurement, in finance. So I think what we are seeing is, first of all, people that are confident. How can I join a company that I have not seen a lot of things? And again, comes back to the culture, comes back to that point. So I think in our particular case, the pandemic has reinforced the importance of having people that are really inspired. They're not commanding and controlling. They are really self-confident, but they must be agents of change, and they change, and they have to be team players. Those are still two dimensions.
Thank you, Gaetano, and it didn't change. Luca, what is on your side?
I would say it didn't change. For us, principle for Lilly, integrity, excellence, respect for people. We look for people that has a match with those characteristics, along with learning agility and resilience. At the end of the day, the environment will keep changing. We need people that is able to change with the environment. And this pandemic didn't change the approach.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Stephane?
maybe one comment in terms of change and the new business model. Digital is everywhere, and this is something which is important, because today, even when recruitment of med rep, they will have to work with digital tools. So in terms of value, engagement, it's continuing the same direction. But the technical skills and digital, today we are not recruiting MSL or a med rep if he has no affinity with digital tools. So this is from a technical skills point of view.
Okay, thank you. Another question on diversity. We have here a question on how do you make this, how do you contribute to the inclusion of diversity? Because each of you are working in a very multinational environment and different culture. And so what do you do in that respect?
Well,
diversity.
For us, you said inclusion, it must be deliberate. So one of the things we learned very early, you cannot just wait for inclusion to happen or for diversity to happen. You have to drive it. Unless you don't drive it, it will not happen. So as a very short answer, for us is part of our scorecard, meaning the way leaders are evaluated. One of the big points we look at when we have to develop people, to grow leaders, to promote leaders, is their ability to include. And that is real, both from every level: gender diversity, religion, backgrounds, different thought patterns. For us, the ability to be including leaders is one of the key criteria when we think in people that will lead the company in the coming years.
What I can, I think Luca was very clear, and I fully agree with you. We have learned 3 different stages on diversity. First of all, David Rock is an expert in the area, and he says something that I really very important. If you are not actively including, you may be accidentally excluding. So you gotta drive. This is a program, right? So what do we learn? 1, you can bring diverse labor force. In the case of Brazil, there is a huge racial issue, gender issue. So you can have the numbers very diverse. Well, you need to make sure that you have an inclusion of those diverse representatives. Are they really part of your management program? Are they really feeling part of something? The third lesson we are learning is, are we listening to their voice? Because if you are in a meeting with a diverse group of people that you have included, not all of them are going to be participating or telling what they think unless you are very specific. Because females are going to have a different way to share ideas. A Black representative will have a different ways of doing it. So I think what we have done now is really asking specific questions, because otherwise they are going to be there. Your numbers may look good, but you are not taking advantage of the unique contribution they can bring to you. I think that's what we have learned. Like, if I can tell a story, in Brazil, we say, I'm going to invite you to a party. Well, that's part one. I'm going to invite you to a party, but I'm going to invite you to dance. Well, that's something. Now you're saying, I'm going to invite you to a party, I'm going to invite you to dance, but what kind of music you like it? What kind of dance you like? So I think that's where we are right now.
Very good. Stephane, on your side, what do you do?
So it's becoming a very important topic, and what we want is to really, from a very global point of view, at a group level, there is now a survey just to take the temperature, because sometimes we think, but the perception with a global survey of 20,000 people is important. So now we are re-challenging the situation, because we think we are doing well, we think we have the right mindset, but now we want like some more objective data just to reinforce that we are going in the right direction, or if we miss something somewhere. But again, this part of diversity and inclusion is a very important topic. Today I'm in China. I've been working in Egypt with a very specific situation in terms of religion, and it was a daily challenge between Copt people and Muslim people. So it's, in some specific country, has much more sense than other. In China, maybe it's a bit different, but as a corporate level, at a company level, it's something which is very, very important.
All right. Thank you. We have maybe to move to leadership, because time is running, and I'm afraid you are all busy afterwards. Otherwise, we can try to stay a little bit longer today, especially if Stephane agrees, because it's a little bit late for him. You are all very successful leaders in very successful companies. And can you share a little bit what I would call the true success for you? What is true success?
Maybe I have a longer career than my other two colleagues here. Let me share what I have learned, and for the young generation. I have delivered excellent results in my entire career, okay? However, in the early part of my career, those positive results were not sustainable. They were not sustainable because I was focusing on the delivery and not the people that were doing the job. I thank God for people that were my mentors, my managers, and what I have learned is, build the team, build the people that you need, and develop the people, because they are the ones bringing the numbers. And I think as I learned to that journey, this is where I spend most of my time developing leadership. We were just joking before we start this. The CEO and chairman of the board from Lilly, it was my marketing director when I was in Canada. I did work for Lilly. I'm glad I was focusing on developing people. So that's the magic. That's the magic. So that we need to deliver results. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's no question about that. The question is, how do you do that? Don't think that is going to be sustainable if you just keep hammering people for the numbers at the end of the month. Get the right people, develop the right people, and you're gonna have better numbers, but they're going to be sustainable. Even if you're not in the business, they will keep delivering. That's what I would say my number one lesson.
Thank you. Luca or Stephane, build on that, please. Do you agree with that? It's about people?
I would say that we are getting away our age here, because when we start saying early in my career, it means that we already have some years behind it. But I take out where Gaetano left. And for me, it's very similar. Beginning, it was about success. Success was about doing better and better what I liked to do. That was my definition of success. But then with the year passing, it's not enough anymore. And for me, two other things got. One, what I do needs to have a purpose. I need to feel that what I'm doing has a purpose. And the other, I have to do it with other people. What I mean with that is being able to enable the people around you to go together to that success. Thanks to the coaching, thanks to the teaching, and to the learning. as well. So these 2 points were added just to the simply doing well what you do and delivering numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Stephane,
Yeah.
what is success for you?
What's important is, of course, developing people is really objective of our managers, and some basic things, because now in order to really develop these leaders, very basic things. And the message I want to convey to my colleagues is give feedback to your people. Give feedback is like if you give a gift to your people. And many times we are don't spending time for this kind of communication. Speak more, and the feedback is very important. So developing people, helping them to show the way, and giving this gift.
Okay, interesting. But in fact, I'm very disappointed by the answer of Gaetano and Luca, because they told me something private, and I would like just to push them in that direction. Because true success is, of course, the organization is the result, the people, and of course. But I also hear a little bit from you, and maybe you would like to share a little bit more wisdom on the personal side. I mean, what is also your view on life balance? In this, it's not everything about business, isn't it?
Again, something I learned through the experiences. I look back at my life, and I can remember the time when I was not performing well, that I was not at my best, and I was not at the top of my game. And I could look inside of myself and do a self-reflection, and my life was not in balance. Either I was not physically fit, or I was not mentally fit, or even I was not spiritually fit. So I think that the balance of life, or your body, your mind, or your soul, and everyone will define that, is key for you to be able to do those things, okay? And again, I would say, don't think about your physical fitness when you are too late, because you're gonna suffer from that. So be very, I would say, selfish in taking care of yourself. Make sure that you know what you like, what you love to do. What are your hobbies? I mean, how do you really decompress? And again, and the other thing is, what do you do from a meditation perspective? Because we all need to relate to something. So I think I would say, in order to really develop people, deliver results, looking into myself is find the right balance. That was for me the key.
I heard meditation. It should give us some more.
Yes,
here.
yes.
Luca.
I have to, I don't know if the Italian sounding names are an indication of thinking alike, but I have to say that for me as well, finding that balance, and each one of us has a different point. I remember talking to one of the people who were reporting to me and making the example of a runner. You can run up to your heartbeat over that for a certain amount of time. If you don't find where is your heartbeat that will allow you to run for the long terms, you will stop before. You will not get at the end of the race. So overall, the ability to find what is the right balance for ourselves, and each one of us has a different balance, is going to be key. As someone that has impact on other people as a leader, I would say that thinking has to be translated to the organization as well. We leave that on ourselves, but we have to have organization that allow people to find that balance, that give them the tools and the understanding and promoting people balance within the organization.
Well, I've heard, I have very special connection with India, as you probably understand. I've heard that you have learned something very special in India, and people are very proud in your team about.
Well, I do. I have a very bad back, and eventually, after many years of a lot of things, chiropractors and so on, I found that actually yoga helps me. So since I got here, what I started to do is every morning I wake up very early and I do actually yoga and I meditate. Now, I'm a very non-professional one. I'm not that good at it. But talking about our own balance, it really helps me in balancing the body. But also I found also the approach for the day. It's true.
So an Italian guy going in India and going towards a yogi path, I think it's something very, very special. I would like to go.
It helped.
I would like to go maybe to the last question because time is running. We have also a few young people among today participants, and I would like you to share with us maybe one very simple advice or tip. How could you guide our young professionals on the corporate ladder? What would you have to share with us? What is your best advice on what people should do?
Stephane, you didn't talk the last time, so you should start.
Exactly. It's late, Stephane. You start.
Yeah, no, you have two Italians here. I mean, we're going to be talking all the time. So
it's 12 now.
So we're going to wake you up. Okay.
No, I think, and every time when I'm discussing with people just finishing their graduation, I told them try to get experience abroad because you will learn a lot by getting experience. Take risk and try something because when you are young, it's the right moment to do that. So international, it's as well a wonderful opportunity. When you are young, you have a desire to discover, to meet people, to enlarge your scope. And this is for me the advice I used to give when I speak with my kids, when the friends of my kids take experience, go abroad, travel, discover the world, and it will build your mind, and it will be very important for your future professional career.
So Stephane can go to sleep. So I hear go abroad and take risk. Luca, you are the next one on the clock.
I'm gonna very quickly is don't think about the ladder per se. Think aim high. I always say that don't be driven by the limits. Be driven by the opportunities. What you can actually do. That would be the first one. The second will be own your career, be responsible of what you do, own your mistakes and the good things you do so that you can learn out of them. And the final and the last point, which is as important, is integrity. And for me, anything that is achieved without integrity cannot be considered success.
Absolutely.
Gaetano.
I'm going to be very specific here. So I will agree with that. But there was something that happened in my life that was a turning point, which it was get to know yourself. Technically, go through a training or process where you can find what gives you energy, what takes energy from you. How do you structure your brain? Are you a task-oriented person or you are a people? So there's a lot of resources out there. But the question is, when you look at the mirror and you look in your own eyes and say, who am I? And as you go through that process, try to define your passion, maybe in 1 or 2 words, because that is the first step that is going to help you in your life, your life with your significant other and your job. Because you may go through a lot of things, but if you don't know yourself, you'll feel frustrated. You don't take advantage of when you are young to really dedicate yourself. So I would say, as you are getting into defining what you want to do, get to know yourself, ask for help, define the things, how your brain works. Because once you do that, then you really feel there's no limit for what you can achieve. So that would be my advice.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think the discussion has been very interesting on my side. I'm very Thankful to three of you for the nice tips and deep thinking you have shared with us. Unfortunately, I think we have to stop now. I know you have a lot of things to do. Some of us have to sleep soon, but the others have to work. So again, thank you very much. It's the third webinars we organize for this life science and healthcare practice. Please let us know what other topics and speakers you would like us to develop in this exciting business where we are. Thank you again to everybody. That was Cornerstone Life Science and Healthcare webinars. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. And nice meeting you, Luca. And
Thank you.
Good night and a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.